This is the Wuben X4, and this is going to be more of an overview style video instead of a review because the X4 is still in Kickstarter. That's right, by the time I release this video, the Wuben X4 is still in early bird. That means you can pick this bad boy up for about 45 bucks. So let's find out if it's worth it. Let's talk about some of the features here. Alright, the X4 has a maximum output of 1500 lumens, a max throwing distance of 205 meters, a max intensity of 10,506 candela, and a max runtime of 720 hours. That's 30 days. And pushing out those 1500 lumens are 4 LEDs that deliver flood and spot at the same time. And everything is controlled with 2 switches and a rotary dial. There's a side switch, and in the rear there's an integrated tactical tail switch. It has a 3-mode control system, a main white light in the front, a warm white side light, and an RGB side light. For the warm white side light, there are 6 LEDs with a color temperature of about 4000 Kelvin, and the RGB side light has 7 different colors. Inside, there's a 3.7 volt, 3400 milliamp hour 18650 rechargeable battery that can be charged via the USB-C charging port on the side of the flashlight, or it can be externally slot charged. Also, I should mention that battery rests on 2 springs, so it's a dual spring system. I love that. Other notable features are you can tail stand it. The tail has a magnetic mount so you can attach it to any steel surface, and it comes with a pocket clip. It has a dust and waterproof rating of IP68. The 6 means it's completely dustproof, and the 8 means it's submersible in up to 6 feet of water. And it has a 1 meter impact resistance. Alright, let's talk dimensions. It comes in at 3.77 inches by 1.47 inches and has a thickness of 1.04 inches. Alright, let's weigh this bad boy. I'm going to plop it on the scale. Exactly 5 ounces, and in grams, 140 grams. And remember, I'm weighing it with the battery in it. And it also comes with this Wuben branded lanyard right here and a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. And I also got this optional red silicone cap to put over the top of it. You can see it softens the light, turns it red to preserve your night vision. It's a really inexpensive option. I think right now it's like $2 on their Kickstarter or something like that. And they'll give you a close-up right down the barrel there at those 4 front-facing LEDs, and then the side light right there, those are the 6 LEDs responsible for the warm white light. And that right there is the RGB LED that's capable of 7 different colors. Right there is the side light with rotary dial. When you're in white light mode, that rotary dial adjusts your brightness level. And in RGB mode, it switches what color you want. And my favorite switch on the X4 is this integrated tactical tail switch. You can see it's still flat on the bottom so you can tail stand it. And it's a little clicky when you press on it, and it's capable of doing moonlight mode and instant turbo. And right next to that tail switch, you can see that little magnet. That's because it does have a magnetic mounting tail right there, and it is strong enough to hold this horizontal or vertically, as you can see. So I'm glad to see they have a pretty decent magnetic mounting tail there. You don't always see that. And just like we saw with the Wuben G5, there's this little sliding door right here that has different functions. So all the way down, it locks out the flashlight. You can see pressing either button doesn't do anything, so that's a really nice and easy lockout. Click it up one more time, and that activates your side light. Click it up one more time, and that activates your main front light. And then click it up one more time, and that activates your instant access to moonlight from either the side switch or that tail switch. And at the tail, there is a battery lockout switch. So if I click that little lockout button right there all the way up and press that button, it opens the door and gives you access to your 18650. And as I mentioned before, there is a dual spring system here. I love that. And I'll give you a look at that button top 18650. So 3.7 volt, 3400 milliamp hour battery. And once that battery's back in there, just click that button all the way down and it locks out that battery compartment. All right, I'll pop up on the screen the lumens and runtime information. On the very top, you can see your main light has turbo at 1500 lumens and moonlight at 5 lumens. It shows 3 hours at 1500 lumens, which I don't believe that for 1 second. I'm going to pop this on my Lumen tester really quickly a little bit later on in this video. And then the 5 lumen moonlight mode has a runtime of 285 hours. Going down to the warm white side light, you can see it goes from 1 lumen to 100 lumens. That's nice. And that 1 lumen moonlight mode on the side light is where you get that maximum 720 hour runtime. The RGB lights are 10 lumens. You can see it has a 10 lumen beacon. But just like with the G5, the beacon isn't a white light beacon. It is an RGB beacon. But the X4 does have a strobe function. That's nice. And then the flashing modes on the bottom, the red, blue, red, green, and yellow flash are all 10 lumens apiece. So the UI here is fairly simple. Everything is controlled with this little switch. You push it all the way up, and I forgot to show you the USB-C port right there. But when it's pushed all the way up, that activates Moonlight. So a single short press on the side button activates Moonlight, or on the tail switch there as well. And in this mode, that rotary dial does nothing. This is only Moonlight. One click down activates the main front light. So once I start rotating that dial, you can see I just hit maximum. That's the 1500 lumens, and that is 5 lumen Moonlight. So you can see it's still a stepped system here. As I go all the way up, you can see those little steps in between. A single short press turns off the light, and yes, there is a memory. So if I turn it on to, I don't know, that level, turn it off, turn it back on, it goes right back to that same level. I like that. And while I'm in front light mode, if I press that tactical tail switch right there, that is your momentary on. And that goes instantly to 1500 lumens, as you can see. And if I double press strobe warning, it goes right to strobe. Now, one click under that activates the side light mode, and yes, the rotary dial does adjust the brightness level here. It goes all the way to 100 lumens, all the way down to 1. And that's about it for that warm white side light. If you want to hit RGB from that side, press and hold that side switch, and there's your RGB color modes. If you just press and hold this, it'll just keep cycling back from RGB to warm white. While in RGB mode, that rotary dial switches to your 7 different colors, as you can see. While the RGB mode is on, if you double press, that activates your flashing beacon. While in beacon, the rotary dial has no effect. So you see you can't change colors while you're in beacon mode. So what you want to do is double press again, get back to your solid color, switch to whatever color you want to, and then double press again. There you go. And to reach the flashing modes, turn it off, double press from off, and there is your, what is that, red and yellow. Double press again, that is red and blue. And then double press again for red and green. And then press all the way down, and that locks out the flashlight, as I showed you before. Pretty simple. And I did a lumen test. So I tested out the lowest level and the highest level, because there's no actual low, medium, and high in the X4. So on Moonlight, Wuben claims 5 lumens, and that's exactly what I was getting, 5 lumens. So that's spot on. And on Turbo, Wuben claims about 1500 lumens. I got about 1400 lumens, but it started stepping down instantly. And you can see that right here. So then I ran a runtime test on Turbo, and I basically got the same result. It started at 1400 lumens and started stepping down instantly. And over the course of about a minute, it stepped all the way down to about 458 lumens, as you can see. And it held steady at that 458 lumens for the next minute or so. And this was the result of my 2-minute test. 1400 lumens max, stepped down over the course of a minute and held steady at 458. And it even stepped up a few lumens over the course of that last minute, which was weird. All right, let's do the beam demonstration. I'm just going to start with the front light here, the main front light on Moonlight. Nothing too special here. And I'm going to slowly start to ramp up. Okay, and you can see from Moon to that next step is a big jump right there. And these are all the individual steps here. And you can see that spot and flood at the same time. That is a really, really nice beam profile here. And there is the max. So that's the 1500 lumen turbo. But as we all know, we're not going to have too much time at that 1500 lumens. It's going to start stepping down instantly over the next minute or so, but it gives you guys a nice idea of that beam profile. I'm easily hitting that tree right there and that barn over there. So I'll put up the distance as always. Very nice. And if I click down one, let's get to that, actually, let's get to that white light and turn it all the way up. It's hard to do with one hand here. And I think I'm getting bit by mosquitoes. There's that 100 lumen side light. Not bad. Not bad. My lawn looks awful. That plane's going to make a lot of noise. I just cut this lawn 2 days ago. And look at it. It looks terrible. And I'm noticing right off the bat that side light is getting a little bit warmer in my hands than the front light, even at turbo for the 1 minute. So that is really interesting. That side light is getting a lot hotter. And if I click over to the red, you can see it's just 10 lumens. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. Let's turn that off and double click for those stroby, flashy lights right there. Oh man, that's way too much in the dark. I'm turning that off. But hopefully that gives you guys a nice idea of the beam profile here. So the X4, a pretty interesting new flashlight from Wuben. And to be honest, it has one of the better beam profiles I've seen from Wuben in a while. I'm really liking that flood spot mix here. And with that 1500 lumens, it's plenty bright. And then couple that with a very useful warm side light. RGB modes, I like the green and the red and the green and red beacon. Everything else I don't really have a use for, except for strobe. I do like the strobe function here. And let's not forget a removable 18650 battery. That's great. But the real strength of this flashlight right now is it's on Kickstarter, and you can still get the early bird right now for 45 bucks. We all missed the super early bird. I think it was like $39.99, under 40 bucks for this flashlight, which I think is a fantastic deal, but that's sold out. Right now, you can still get that early bird for 45 bucks. I will have links down below in my description box if you guys want to check this out for yourself. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Remember, if you liked this video, please give me that thumbs up. Please subscribe and go.